Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another special episode of Herschel Talkers. Got a great return guest. Got our boy Hube. How we doing today? I would say Hube from 247, but formerly Hube. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good, man. Just, living the dream, working hard, being a new dad.
Oh, nice.
Trying to finish up school at UGA. So
Nice.
all that. Yeah.
Sounds like a busy life you got there. That's great to hear.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Make sure to like and subscribe, share the podcast. We're trying to get some of our numbers, so that's great. We'd really appreciate it. Jumping right into it. Georgia wins 37-14 and clean old-fashioned
Clean old-fashioned hate. Yeah,
there you
clean
go.
old-fashioned hate.
Yeah, first half, definitely closer than I thought it would be. I'd say Brent Keys really got the guys up 10-7. And then Georgia, just not the most prettiest, just kind of strangleholds them like a boa, just kind of latched on and started rolling. I think the defense at one point gave up 1 yard till late in the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
And Bennett got going. Kenny McIntosh has been putting the team on his back, 12 carries, 86 yards and touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Also had 2 receptions for 96 yards. So if you had Kenny McIntosh in fantasy, he would have been rolling last week.
Killing it for you. Killing it for you.
Would have been great. Felt like they kind of focused and took Brock Bowers out, 5 receptions, 20 yards. I think Darnell had 1. I think a lot of teams are trying to definitely. That's right. But all in all, it was good. Pulled away at the end. I think they got a jump touchdown at the end. Thought maybe for a minute there would have covered. So 37-14 didn't cover, but I think they got out with no major injuries. I believe who's the one? The defensive end rolled his ankle, I believe.
Marvin Jones. Talking about Marvin Jones Jr.?
Yeah, we got a glimpse of AD. I guess that was a decoy or whatever that was. But hey, he was on the field, so I know that everybody asks each week. But good win. But what are your thoughts on the game?
It was a sloppy game, man. I was watching the game at the bar with some friends while trying to multitask and do some work while drinking some champagne and smoking hookah or whatever. But I was just frustrated in the first half. It seems like people have figured out, like, just test Keely. Don't throw him short. Like, either run an in-breaking route or like double move him. So we'll see if teams try to exploit that the next 3 weeks, because I'm predicting 2 wins in a row in the Natty appearance in LA. But yeah, man, it seemed like Tech had some things that they saw on film and they tried to exploit it, but eventually the talent took over. Jimmy's and Joe's better than X and O's type deal. And I don't know what it is about Kirby teams, but these 12 o'clock games, these guys, I don't know if they're partying too much, staying up late, hanging with girls. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's like they come out lethargic or just not as interested as they should be. And I mean, you're dealing with 17 to 22-year-olds. Right. And I know some of these guys are older than 22. But I know how I was as a young dude. Like, I can't blame them, but it's like, hey man, get rid of these guys so you can go sit on the sideline and get ready for the Saturday night. That would be my motivation. That would be my thought process. But it's good to see that the run game is kind of picking up. Like we can run. Like, to see Milton finally break one and like actually score and not get caught or fumble the ball or pull a hamstring or something. He's been close since he's been here to doing something like that. So finally do it was good. Like, he had some good bursts. I've always said the kid was wound too tight. That's why he keeps having all these soft tissue injuries. It's like, you can do some yoga and relax on the squats and power cleans or something. Right. But yeah, I mean, overall, good showing. Defense bowled up and figured out what Tech was trying to do. They made good adjustments, which is what she tends to do in Muschamp, of course. Offense figured it out, And I think Kirby said, like, we want to be able to if you want to take something away, be able to do something else, right? Or something like that. So You want to take away our pass game, our tight ends? Cool. We're gonna run the ball down your throat. We've done that the last 2-3 games. You try to take away the throwing game. Well, okay, cool. We'll run for 200 plus yards on you and make the game short and get out of there, right? So all in all, I give the performance probably like a B minus because Tech shouldn't have scored at all. Like I don't even know who the quarterback was. I was like, who is this kid? You know, I was looking at that stat sheet. I didn't know the kid from Clemson was at Tech now, the former backup quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So like,
yeah, starts with a P or something.
Yeah, Palmachon,
yeah,
or something like that. So you know, it doesn't look pretty when you got 215 passing from Tech and they don't got receivers for real. But if you scroll down 40 yards rushing,
great.
That's great. You know, and we got 40 to 264. That's going to be a loss every time unless the other team threw for 400 yards. So you know, all in all, good performance, 400 yards offense. Can't complain about that. Kind of a throwback to the early Kirby days.
It was,
as far as what the stat line looks like. But yeah, you know, got through another week, stayed number one in the rankings that came out today. And if we handle business this weekend, then we'll be playing in Atlanta. The following week in the playoffs. So you know, not bad.
So to get nitpicky, do you think so Bennett's numbers, I think he had like 29 touchdowns, 7. Do you think he's actually improved this year? He has more or regressed, or what was your thoughts on him? I know he has more passing yards, or just him going from junior to this year where he had a whole spring and, you know, he's basically the man this year. What's your thoughts on Bennett?
I mean, honestly, I think what the issue is here is people have keyed in on Brock. AD's been out all year. I would say Ladd dropped probably about 4 walking and touchdowns.
Oh yeah.
You know, you got Marcus Roseman, Jack saying, I love the kid, but I mean, he looks to have been very overrated based on how he performs. Like he's a solid starter, solid receiver, but like he was the highest rated receiver in that class, and he's the least explosive, and just not a difference maker as maybe he might have seemed that he was going to be when he got to college. And I think that's a speed thing. You got Aaron out most of the season, AD out most of the season. You lose Burton, you lose Pickens. Dom's coming along a little bit. Karras, I don't know why Karras hasn't played more. Maybe because we're trying to not lose a player like Darnell, so we're coming out in 12 personnel more than like 22 or like 21 personnel, or not even 21, but like instead of coming out in 13 personnel, I mean not 13, 31, 40 or 40 or whatever. We're coming out in a lot of 2 tight end sets instead of like 3 receiver sets, 4 receiver sets. Because of injuries, because of you know, wanting to keep guys on the field that, you know, those are our elite players, our tight ends, right? So, you know, Darnell has 1 touchdown on the season, Brock has 5. Last year he had 13. Like teams have taken that away. And when you have injuries on top of that and attrition on top of that, it affects you, right? But you know, I don't know. I wouldn't say he's regressed. I think Stetson is who Stetson is. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you go look at it, he has 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns though. Like, so that puts him at about the number of touchdowns he had at this point in the season last year, right? With more rushing yards, I think, and more passing yards. So I mean, he's put up decent numbers. Are they Heisman level? No, I never thought he was going to win a Heisman in the first place. But is it maybe second team all SEC or third team all SEC level? Yeah. He's 12-0, so that'll help him, right?
24 straight, right? Regular season.
So you know, I think from that perspective, I wouldn't say he's regressed. I think it's kind of hard to throw a bunch of touchdowns when your receivers are injured or out, or people are double covering tight ends. Like that's taking the easy stuff away, right? And love our running backs, but none of those guys are 4-4 guys like Cook or Zamir, and going to take one to the crib just because they're fast. Like what Kenny had that long catch last week, this past weekend, and still got caught. Like you know, like Dejan was running a 4.8 coming out of high school. Kendall ran a 4.72. We just don't got guys that are like game breaking speed right now, and that's okay because we're still efficient. But when you lose a kid like Burton, who went to Bama and isn't doing like many thought he would, but hell, he was 5 of our touchdowns last year, and he was averaging 19 yards a catch. That's a big deal, right? So you know, stuff happens. But I think at this point in the season last year, what does Stetson have? He had 4 touchdowns in the Orange Bowl, 2 in the SEC championship game. I want to say, and
I think it was 2 in the Natty, right? 2 or 3.
2 in the Natty. So he had 29 touchdowns last year, 1 rushing. So he had 30 touchdowns. Right now he's at 23 touchdowns. You can be nitpicky about it, but you know, as long as we're scoring more points per game without the defensive touchdowns and offensive and special team touchdowns, so I can't really be that upset about it.
And one thing before we jump to the next game, how about the red zone kind of struggles the last couple of weeks? Like Kentucky can't get a yard. I just know down the stretch, you know, you can't kick field goals in the big games. What's your thoughts? I think it's like don't run it up the middle with Jalen Carter. Do something else. I did like the way he faked it and threw it to Brock this past week.
Yeah, I think we can't just telegraph stuff. Like I think a lot of times coaches want to be the smartest guy in the room, or like they think they're the smartest guy in the room. And to be a coach, you kind of have to have some level of hubris to make it to this level. But if I'm the guy sitting on the couch that has never called a defensive play in college, can tell that if that guy comes on the field, they're running a run play. Maybe don't run a run play. Maybe you're saying like we know as Georgia fans, if you put Kendall Milton or Branson Robinson in the game, it's highly unlikely they're in there to catch a pass. It's highly unlikely that it's a pass play, especially with Branson in there. So, you know, switch it up. Put him and Kenny in, or them and one of those guys in and Dejan in, and run something different. But, you know, shit happens. I think a lot of times people try to they try to outsmart themselves, and it's like, bro, everybody knows you're about to run the ball up the middle. They're literally condensing their defense because they know you're gonna run the ball. Spread them out, run the ball. If you want to run it in, just spread them out.
I agree. Don't run behind 88. Run somewhere else, right? Decoy.
You know. And I wouldn't be doing too many trick plays with 88 anyway. He coming off a knee injury, bro. Like,
I agree.
Need
that kid as much as you can use him.
Exactly.
All right, jumping back into it. We got SEC championship game this weekend. It's gonna be LSU. Looks like they are 14th. This is updated. Number 1. Terrible loss against Texas A&M. Didn't see that happening at all.
Garbage.
17.5 point spread. I know the big thing for this week is Jaden Daniels' kid. Is he healthy? I think last time I heard maybe they thought he was going to practice Tuesday, but if he's in a boot, obviously not looking good. That's crazy that he is the leading rusher for them with 824 yards. So if he's not 100%, what's your thoughts on this game? And that defense is coming. So
I mean,
bad matchup.
Whether he was playing or not, I didn't think this was going to be a close game. To be honest, I'm pretty sure we're going to cover. There's a lot of motivation to win this game, I would say. But if you have Garrett Dusmeyer or whoever is the LSU backup at this point,
Yeah.
starting against Georgia in the SEC championship game in Atlanta, I don't predict a win for LSU. I don't even predict them. They might score 10 points.
Right.
Yeah, and I could see Kirby shortening this game. I'm probably gonna be a 34-10 game or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, I was thinking about it earlier. I'm going to say 30. I was thinking 31-14. You taught me out. I'm going to go 31-10 and cover. I just think that Daniels guy, him being in a walking boot is going to limit. He might try to gut it out. I think we're going to take away the run, and then he's not an accurate thrower. I think a couple of games like Tennessee held him. Well, there was a couple of games he was held to 100 yards, I believe.
Yeah.
I think you and I could throw for over 300 against Tennessee. I think you did. He threw for 400, even though they got smoked.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
he was at Arizona State, man. It's the SEC.
Yeah.
He has less touchdowns than Stetson. He has less passing yards than Stetson. So I'm not worried about this guy.
Right.
What is that? What is he averaging? 200 a game? 250?
Right.
Like right at 200, maybe 10 a game?
Right.
Not concerned by any stretch.
I think we got them both covering. Like 31-10. Do we get to see like maybe 10, 15 snaps for AD? What would you like to see maybe from the offense? I think the defense will be good. And do you like playing again in Mercedes-Benz? I know we look really good against Oregon. Feel like it's going to be our home field this year. Could play there 3 times.
Yeah, I think when Georgia's the home team in Mercedes-Benz, they win the game.
There you go. Wearing the red. There we go.
Yeah. So, I think we'd probably get AD some run. I don't think they put him out there. I don't think they were really going to chance much with him versus Tech. That's why he got out there on like a special package, and then something happened, so he had come off. But I could see him getting about 10 to 12 snaps, get him going a little bit, moved up a little bit, kind of like they did George last year, and then let him roll in the playoffs. But I think I heard I don't think this is all an ankle injury. I think some of this was a thumb injury too. So like I think everybody's thinking that it was his ankle, which possible, but I think Kirby's known to be shrewd about injuries. So I'm pretty sure when I was at the Tennessee game, I saw him with a cast on his hand. So yeah.
Gotcha. Looking at the stats here is looking earlier. I believe they are 33rd in total defense.
Cool.
Scoring defense, and Georgia's still 1. I think that guy put over 200, the running back last week for Texas A&M. So you know what that means. If Kirby sniffs that, might be run, and more run, which is fine.
Well, the thing is, a lot of times, I'm not saying this about you, but a lot of times fans look at a stat line for a guy the previous week or the previous few weeks, and they're like, "Oh, we can do that." A-Chain's a different guy than what we have in our backfield. We don't have an A-Chain in our backfield as far as the speed that he has. Like A-Chain can make your angles wrong. So, and he was injured. I think he gutted that game out and played. I think because it was probably his last game as an Aggie. But I don't know. I don't know that we got a guy that is going to do what A-Chain did. But I think as a committee, I could see us going for 200 yards as a team. Yeah. Like, I mean, I honestly don't think this game is going to last. What time's the game? 3, 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock, yeah.
I think it'll be over by 7.
Oh, wow. How about the Perkins kid? Who are we going to probably because I know he can. I was just saying he can wreak havoc, and I think you can't go side to side with him. You got to go straight at him. Do you think maybe shift Darnell over a little bit, or?
I think the Perkins kid is not going to do much.
Right.
I think he's going to be an elite player by the time he's a junior, right? He ain't no Will Anderson. Mm-hmm. He ain't no Von Miller. He's not even he's not Jarvis Jones. No, he's not one of those guys.
Right.
I always tell people, look at who people put their numbers up against.
Right.
Right. Like if you put your numbers up against Arkansas when they don't have their starting quarterback in, who's bigger than you,
Right. Yeah.
then I might have to look at those numbers and kind of be skeptical about them. So I have full faith that our offensive tackles can handle that kid as far as him wreaking havoc on pass plays. And Stetson ain't a statue, so but yeah, I can see him getting chipped by Darnell if he starts getting too much pressure, and he might be a little gun shy. You also got somebody like Kenny who might bust him in his chin if he runs in there too willy nilly too. So I think we'll plan for him accordingly.
Gotcha.
Their secondary suspect though. So
right. Good to hear. Yeah, and before talk about the college football playoffs, Viva Tequila is one of our great sponsors. 0 sugar, 0 carbs. Be great for the pregame and Mercedes-Benz to drink some of these. My personal favorite is elderberry. Huckleberry is good too. Live long, live well, live it up. 20% off Hustle for checkout on vivatequilaseltzer.com. Check those guys out. Been a great sponsor this year. And jumping right into it, hot off the press, I believe it was updated, 30 minutes or an hour ago. College football rankings. Georgia 1, Michigan 2, TCU 3, USC 4, as predicted. And the interesting was going to be 5. So it looks like Buckeyes, I like to call them the suck eyes, coming off an ass whipping to Michigan. They're friends from the north. But what's your thoughts on this? And then a lot of people thought, Alabama is going to try to sneak their way in the back door, but I think that kind of seals their fate. Yeah.
Yeah. The only way I see Bama jumping Ohio State is if Michigan somehow loses poorly to Purdue, which is not going to happen.
Right.
No shade to my friends from Purdue. I got a few Purdue graduates that are homies, but I didn't see a way that Alabama was going to get in after they. Who was their second loss to? LSU? Yeah, like I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, I don't have any gripes. I don't understand how Penn State jumped 3 spots, but that's splitting hairs. I don't think Penn State could beat Tennessee with the healthy Hendon Hooker. You know what I'm saying? So I think that game would get very quiet for Penn State fans really quickly because I don't think they could score with them. Don't see Washington as a top 10 team, but also I don't see Clemson as a top 10 team. So at that point, you're kind of splitting hairs as far as who should be where. Like, it looks like a bunch of mediocre teams to me, to be honest.
And back to Bama, I know they lost 2 games by 4 points, but who was their best win? Ole Miss isn't. I don't think they're ranked anymore. At least,
no, they're not because they lost to Mississippi State.
And then they could have easily lost Texas A&M, easily lost Texas, and then there was another team. I mean, there was a joking around.
Arkansas. I think it was Arkansas.
Yeah, could have went 7-5 if it was things went the opposite way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't put too much. I don't put too much weight in point differentials anymore. Bama barely beat Auburn last year. We blew them out. All Bama came in and whooped our ass. Different teams play different. Football is a matchup game, right? I don't know if you remember Super Bowl with Denver and Seattle. I think I was one of the few people that was like, Seattle's gonna bust those guys up. And everybody was like, what are you talking about? This is the best scoring offense and however long. I was like, yeah, they run a lot of in-breaking short routes. Seattle plays zone coverage. That is not a recipe for scoring a lot versus a team like that.
Was that Legion of Boom too? They had that secondary, right?
Yeah, that was when they had Legion of Boom. That was the year before they played the Patriots. It just wasn't a good matchup. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so with football, some teams are gonna play other teams better. If the thing with Bama is if you can expose their receivers. I mean, not their receivers, their DBs, and keep them from breaking long runs, their receivers were mediocre. Like,
Right.
look at Bryce's numbers this year in comparison to last year. He like Tua benefited from a lot of short routes turning into 60+ yard touchdowns. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And so this year he didn't have a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so with them not being this big play offense scoring on one play touchdowns, 80 yards, they had to matriculate down the field. Well, that makes the game shorter, right? And if I can expose your DBs and score quicker than you, well, that makes the game closer, right? Or at least extending my drives, which makes the game close. So I don't know that Bama is as bad as they seem. But I predicted that Tennessee was going to get their ass kicked by us. And most people, and a lot of Georgia fans, some of those guys on 247 was the sky's falling when we had to play Tennessee. And I was like, you're not playing if this game was in Neyland, maybe, but you're playing at Georgia. We can cover. You can't.
Yeah.
And you're not going to stop us from running the ball. I don't know anybody on your team that we're afraid of running the ball on us. So it's not a good matchup, right? So I think a lot of times people think too hard. Football's a matchup game. If you have a weakness and I can expose that weakness, or I have a strength on strength, it's probably not going to be a game where the team that's scoring a lot against weak opponents is going to win.
Right.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, matchup wise, let's say USC wins out and beats Utah. Do you like the matchup? Caleb Williams coming to Mercedes-Benz. I know their defense is they're like a top 60-something suspect. Yeah.
Honestly, I think if USC wins their game, as much disrespect as TCU's got, USC is going to jump USC.
Wow.
I mean, USC is going to jump TCU. It's like, let TCU have a close game versus Kansas State, and USC beat the hell out of who are they playing, Utah? Because this is a rematch, so it's a get-back game.
Right.
If USC wins that game decisively, and TCU pulls one of those games where they barely win, I could see the committee flip-flopping them because of Caleb, right?
Yeah.
And if we play TCU, that's a blowout in Atlanta.
Yeah, I like that matchup all day. Smoke them.
Yeah. Us
How about
versus
TCU
USC?
wins? How about TCU wins? Some people are saying they still might get in if they lose a close one to Kansas State, like field goal. Do they still get in or they're out?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's a tough question. I think if they lose to Kansas State, they might not make it.
Right.
Like, I know they were talking about it today. I don't see them making it if they lose, because they haven't had. Mind you, they have all these top 25 wins or whatever. The hardest schedule. It's still the Big 12. Big 12 don't got a lot of respect, man. Yeah. So I don't know. That's a toughie. I think for sure Ohio State gets in if USC loses. But I don't know that Ohio State doesn't get in if any of those two lose. Like, I could see them sneaking in off of that. Only because they lost to a top 2 team. You know what I'm saying?
Would you not rather play Ohio State, or would you rather play USC or Ohio State if you had to pick?
If I had to pick,
right. The better matchup, maybe.
Is Njigba playing or not?
I guess that would gives him a month. They might be healthier.
Yeah, if Njigba playing, I want to play USC.
Yeah.
With USC, the thing with USC is like, what's his name? Austin Jackson or whatever, the number 6. Right. I ain't afraid of that kid running the ball with us. Right. The thing with Georgia is you have to be able to stand in the pocket and deliver the ball. And I haven't seen Caleb really destroy anybody just standing in the pocket when pressured. He likes to scatter around, and we're not going to let you do all that. So
Right.
If you can't run the ball on us, because we're not Notre Dame, so that ain't gonna work. You're not just gonna run the ball on us, right?
Yeah.
And you start running around the field, you're gonna get a hat put on you. And you're gonna stop running around the field. You see, that happened to Anthony Richardson. He's much bigger than Caleb Williams. He got hit that one time, and he didn't run the ball that much after the first quarter. You know what I'm saying? So, if for my money, I'd rather play USC. I'd rather play TCU in the first round. I'm not concerned about our secondary in the sense of like, I'm worried that we can't cover their guys. I just don't want to be in a shootout because I think we can win a shootout because hell, if you can't stop us, we can stop you a few times, right? But I'm all about ease of win. I'm cool with I don't need to prove anything. Like I want the W. Exactly. I don't care about who we played. I wanted last year to play Michigan and Cincinnati.
Yeah, there you
go. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, if I had to choose between Ohio State and USC, I'm probably picking USC because Ohio State has Travion Henderson, and that kid's a beast. And I know CJ will stand in the pocket. You know what I'm saying? Neither one of those teams play defense. Neither one of those teams wants to get hit in the mouth though while you run the ball. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see USC have to come to Atlanta to play Georgia. That'll be an interesting game. It'll be an interesting game for sure.
Right. And then real quick, if let's say we did beat USC and Michigan won, do you like the matchup again? Do you see it being the same thing again as last year? I don't see any difference. You got McCarthy's a little bit more mobile. Is it?
Well, they got Ronnie Bell back, so now they have a receiver that can stretch the field. And you got Blake Corum. You got that. Those guys are good.
Yeah.
Those guys are good. I will not take nothing away from them. But if your plan is to run the ball on us, that ain't gonna work.
Right.
They've seen that already. We've seen that story already. But it'll be a good matchup. I think it'll be a closer game than it was last year, to be honest.
Do you think we could run on them, or what's their do they have any Achilles on defense, or they're pretty solid? I know their stats are great.
Who have they played? Like, my thing is who have they played? They still gave up 500 yards to Ohio State, even though they beat Ohio State.
Right.
So, the best offense we played, we gave up what, 300 maybe?
Right.
Anybody giving up 500 yards to anybody, I ain't too worried about them. Like, I'm like, okay, all right, 500 yards is a lot of yards. That means somebody was messing up at the wrong time. Like those 2 interceptions, they're bad by CJ Stroud. That makes that game a lot different. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
cool. All right, man. Anything else you want to mention? Thanks for coming back on again. I know you're busy.
But yeah, man. Hopefully we get these 3 dubs in a row. Get to celebrate the Natty again. I will be in LA if we win.
There you
I already got my ticket for Chick-fil-A Bowl, so I'm glad Georgia State #1.
Oh, nice.
And then let's close out with the Natty and get another #1 recruiting class.
Yeah, man. Let's do another Dog Nation Daily 2 for 2022. That'd be great. Back to back.
For sure.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right, bro.
All right, man. Go Dogs. See ya.
Go Dogs.